Hey guys, welcome back to R&R. Today we are going to be doing a video on Korn's 13th studio album called The Nothing. As you can see, the CD is already open, and that is because I wanted to go ahead and listen to the album and see how it was for myself, since my digital copy took about 2 days to arrive. So I had to buy the album and check it out. And as you can see, I have the vinyl. That one is sealed. I also have a few other things that came with the vinyl because I did get the bundle itself. It's the vinyl, a really cool lithograph, and also a hoodie. So what we are going to be doing for today is, of course, an unboxing of the vinyl itself, and then we're also going to be doing a brief review on the album itself. I'll let you know my thoughts on the album. I'll let you know if it's an album you should listen to. I'll let you know what songs are my favorite, which ones are my least favorite. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So here is the album itself. This is the CD. As you can see, it has the cover art for The Nothing, in which a lot of people think that is really cool. And honestly, I think that it's actually pretty cool as well. And it has this little texture for the cover art, and it's actually pretty nice. Flip that around, we have the track listing. Of course, it says Korn, The Nothing. So this is the following track list. We have The End Begins, number 2, Cold, 3, You'll Never Find Me, 4, The Darkness is Revealing, 5, Idiosyncrasy, 6, The Seduction of Indulgence, 7, Finally Free, 8, Can You Hear Me, 9, The Ringmaster, 10, Gravity of Discomfort, 11, Harder, 12, This Loss, and 13, Surrender to Failure. So we just go ahead and slide that out of here, and here it is again. Just go ahead and open that up. And of course, here we have the disc. Pretty straightforward. Also has a track listing around the disc itself. Go ahead and take that out. And then of course, here we have the theme of the album, which is basically a bunch of wires of some sort of puppet that is being controlled, you could say. Go ahead and put that back there. Jeez, these things always give me a panic. And then of course we have the little booklet here, which I'm going to go ahead and try to take out. So here's the booklet. Of course, there's the cover. And it's pretty simple. It does not have lyrics like some other booklets usually do. It just pretty much has the credits. Has a track listing, of course. It's a very short one, actually. It's about 4 pages or 5 or so. And then there's the back. So that's the CD. Pretty straightforward. It's not anything that special. Still pretty cool though, I'm not gonna lie. And also how it has this little sleeve where you can just go ahead and put that back in like that. And yeah, that's the CD. Alright, so as I said, the album itself did end up coming with a lithograph, and this is the lithograph itself. As you can see, it's pretty detailed, and also it has like this sort of aluminum-like feel to it. I'd say kind of like a chromish color. I like it a lot. As you can see, there's like, I don't know if you can really tell, but there's like a corner of it that is kind of damaged, which is kind of like over there. But besides that, it's actually a pretty cool lithograph. I might end up putting this up in my room because this actually looks really cool. Of course, also you have the logo itself, you have the Korn logo, you have the album name, and then of course, again, you have the track listing there right on the bottom right. And yeah, I mean, for as far as the lithograph goes, I did not expect it to be this big of a lithograph. But hey, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I love it. When I got it, I was actually pretty surprised by it. I am most likely going to go ahead and try to contact the Korn store to see if they can send me one that is not damaged. I really don't know if that is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, as far as the lithograph goes, I love it. It looks awesome. So here we have the hoodie itself. It's actually pretty straightforward. This is the back of it, so it's not really much. It's showing the name of the album here. And then of course we have the track listing down here. Let's go ahead and get that to focus. There you go. We have the track listing here. We have the logo, the dude pretty much being hung by all those wires. And then we turn it around to the front, and it's pretty simple. It's just the Korn logo itself. And then on the sleeves we have some little parts of it that are like the corner of the album. So they have these little things where it's the wires and all that. And it's actually pretty comfortable. I did wear it, and actually I didn't think it was gonna be that comfortable, but yeah, this is actually pretty cool. I look forward to wearing this when it's colder. But yeah, that's the hoodie. And now let's go ahead and get this stuff out of the way, because now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the vinyl itself. I really kind of don't want to get rid of this sticker here, but unfortunately, since it does come with the actual, it's actually attached to the plastic, I think I'm just gonna have to peel it off and then probably put it somewhere. So let's go ahead and open that up. It's got a very interesting texture to it. Or maybe I'm just not used to vinyls. And here it is. It also has that same texture on the guy that's being hung by all these wires. It has the same texture as the CD does. Feels a little bit more actually. And then we go ahead and open it up. We have more wires. We open up this on the side here. We have more wires. There you go. It actually looks pretty cool. And it's kind of like laminated or something. That's pretty cool. I like it. There's a couple other things that are in here. We have even more wires. It seems that there's nothing but more of these things here. If I'm not mistaken, there's a possibility that these things could put together the actual logo itself, because here we have what seems to be the head. I don't know if you can really tell on that because it's laminated, so it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, it kind of looks like if you put these together like in some sort of puzzle, it might create the actual cover art, and I think that's actually pretty cool. We have another 2. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces with this thing. So it's all of these here. And then of course, that's not on that side. So let's go ahead and check out what's on the other side. Here we have, I believe this would be the vinyl itself. So we have the track listing here. Can't really see all of it. Close enough. Then the credits to all of those that participated on creating the album. Pretty cool. Alright, so this vinyl is actually pretty cool. I mean, we have the logo, and it has like a very interesting texture to it. Then we turn it around, we get the other side, and it's white. So yeah, as far as this vinyl goes, that looks like it's about it. I'm not gonna lie, that's actually pretty cool how they included those other pieces along with it. I don't know, I need to go ahead and look into it a little bit more and see if that actually puts anything together. At least to me, it seems that it does put the cover art together, so I don't know, I guess I'll go ahead and check it out later and I'll see what all that is about. But yeah, as far as the vinyl goes, that's pretty much it. There doesn't seem to be anything else that I need to go ahead and look into. At least I don't think there is. Nope. That's about it.
there's not even any kind of booklet or anything like that. So yeah, that about does it for the vinyl itself. And yeah, there's not really much else to go ahead and look into it. So there you go. That was the vinyl.
So on to the review of the album itself. This album, it starts off like, you could say that this kind of starts off like the way that Issues does with the bagpipes. However, this one sounds a little bit creepier than the other one, because in this one you just hear like some very ominous things in the background going along with the bagpipes themselves. And then of course you have Jonathan Davis singing over it and just pretty much losing his mind as the song progresses. But that's as far as the opener goes. As far as the rest of the album goes, it's heavy. Like, it's very heavy compared to... I have to say that this album is much heavier than The Serenity of Suffering, and I really prefer that. Because The Serenity of Suffering, as much of a good album that it was, it did not meet my expectations as far as, like, the heaviness that it may have. Of course, you did have a feature by Corey Taylor in the song A Different World, but it just wasn't really enough to satisfy how heavy that album was. And comparing this one, I'd say that this one would be like a mixture of the Paradigm Shift and also The Serenity of Suffering with a little bit of self-titled in it. So, as far as Jonathan Davis's vocals go, they tend to really stick out on this album because there is a lot of different tempos, a lot of different pitches that he uses as he sings. There are some points where he sings fast, there are some points where he sings slowly, there are some points in which he whispers. And one of the songs that really caught my attention was The Darkness is Revealing, because in this one, he starts singing like in a very fast pace, and then like the song slows down, and he starts to, he kind of sings in this particular part, and then the song just hits hard. And he just starts saying, like, what is this I'm feeling? And so forth. So that's definitely one of the highlights of the album because of the way that Jonathan Davis decided to sing that song. And of course, the instrumentals are amazing. They're just awesome in general. Another highlight of this album is, of course, the singles that came along with it. We have Cold and we have You'll Never Find Me, which were the lead singles that came out for this particular album itself. You'll Never Find Me came out first, and honestly, as far as You'll Never Find Me goes, it sounds like, I would say that it's probably one of the heaviest songs throughout the whole album. I expected there to be other songs that would be heavier than that one. There are some that come close to it, but I would say that You'll Never Find Me is probably one of the heaviest ones throughout the whole album itself. Cold, of course, is another one of those heavy ones. He uses this very devilish-like voice where he's talking about this demon that is haunting him, or this particular creature that is haunting him. I guess you would say that this thing that is bugging him is called The Nothing. I mean, that's the title of the album, and it seems that The Nothing is that thing that won't leave him alone. And I mean, as far as that one goes, like it has its build up. It starts off starts off heavy, and then it gets heavier and it gets heavier. But again, I would not say that it's heavier than You'll Never Find Me, because You'll Never Find Me it's crazy. Idiosyncrasy is one of those songs that is very, it does also start off heavy. However, the pitches that he uses in this particular song, I don't know, I would say that they are very, he's just very angry in this song. And it seems that he's very upset at this thing that is really bothering him. He doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be fazed by it anymore, and he's just basically telling it the worst things that he possibly can because it just messes with him, and he calls it an idiosyncrasy. The Seduction of Indulgence is one of my least favorite songs because he's just repeating the same thing over and over again. And as far as the instrumental goes, it didn't really catch my attention. I would say that this is one of those songs that I will probably skip on the album because I didn't really like it that much. Just constantly repeating the same thing, and it's just, I don't know. This one just didn't really catch my attention. I really wish that it could have been a better song. I wish that it could have been longer. but it's a very short song. It kind of feels like it's an interlude of some sort to the story itself. Because he's saying that this thing is skinning him, stabbing him, and doing other unmentionable things to him. And yeah, I just feel like the Seduction of Indulgence could have been like a much better song. It had potential in it, but it just didn't make the cut for me. Finally Free, it sounds like it's more of the acceptance of him just agreeing with what it is that he is going through. He's not exactly escaping this nothing that he calls. As some people already know, this particular album is more than likely written due to the passing of his wife last year. A very unfortunate event because she ended up passing away due to drug use, I believe. And also there were some other things that were going on with her in which Jonathan Davis really didn't want to explain until after she had passed. But nonetheless, as far as this song goes, it seems that it's kind of the acceptance of her passing, but at the same time, it's the rejection that he has of this this thing that is just haunting him, and it won't leave him alone. It's kind of a slow-paced song. It's not exactly heavy. It does get heavy at some points, but it's not really into the point where you can say that this song goes hard, because it really doesn't. It's actually pretty calm. It has its moments, and overall it's pretty interesting. And if anything, if you look at it and you read the lyrics itself, it seems pretty sad. And the reason that I say that it's sad is because he feels like he failed. He feels like he wasn't able to save this thing. He wasn't able to he just wasn't able to prevent this from happening. And you can feel the regret that he has because he feels like he could have done more, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And unfortunately the worst thing happened to him, and now that is why he deals with this creature that won't leave him alone. Can You Hear Me is one of those tracks that does not exactly sound like Korn, and there is a reason for this. The reason being as to why this song does not sound like Korn is because this song was actually intended to be in Jonathan Davis' solo album, Black Labyrinth. To be quite honest, I have not heard Black Labyrinth yet. I do plan on hearing it. But from what I hear about this song, credits to my friends because they are the ones that let me know about this. Apparently this song was actually supposed to be in Black Labyrinth as a bonus track. However, when Black Labyrinth was released, it was nowhere to be seen. Everybody was wondering, like, what happened? People thought that this song, Can You Hear Me, was going to be on it, but a lot of people were surprised to see that it wasn't there. There were demos of Can You Hear Me flying around in the web, but it never made the cut to Black Labyrinth, and that confused a lot of people. So when the official track listing for The Nothing came out, we saw that track was there. And I believe it was like a week or 2 weeks before the album came out. I think it was about a week, yeah. Can You Hear Me came out as a single, and everybody just lost it because they were surprised that this song was actually going to be included in the album. Like, yeah, of course, they saw it on the track listing. But the version that is on the web, that was on the web before the song actually came out, you can tell that it's unfinished. You can tell that there's a lot missing to it. But then you hear this final version, and it is very fulfilling, and a lot of people say that it was worth the wait. I didn't wait for as long as they did, but I mean, if they say that it was worth the wait, I mean, I like the song. It's not one of those songs that I would listen to all the time. I may skip it here and there. Because, like I said, that song is not exactly Korn. It's more of Jonathan Davis. But still, nonetheless, it's a really good song. It's definitely one of those tracks that really did catch my attention. Not the best, but it's good. Then we have the Ringmaster. The Ringmaster, it kind of seems like it's this, of course, the Nothing is trying to talk to him. It's trying to ask him what's wrong. It's kind of trying to lure him into thinking that it's going to help him cope with this loss. But in the end, it just ends up crushing him, in which way it's called the Ringmaster, because it tricked him into believing that he was going to be helped. But in the end, it just made him feel so much worse. It ended up making him lose control and allowing this particular thing to take over. Because in the chorus, he starts saying, I feel your presence standing there up in my face. I feel the darkness haunting me with its embrace. I want to shed this, go to a place, a different time. That plot unfolds, the meaning here I'll never find. In which he feels this very strong feeling of discomfort. He feels like he's lost. He feels like he has nowhere to go. And he turns to this thing hoping that it is going to help him. But in the end, it just makes him feel so much worse. It makes him feel even more alone. It makes him feel like he is just completely lost in darkness and he can't do anything about it. It's heavy, but it calms down at some points. And as far as Jonathan Davis's vocals go, it seems like you can tell by his voice that he feels weak. He feels like he has no strength. He feels like he's ready to just give up. And when this thing comes along, it just takes over him and he just completely loses control. Because the reason being as to why I say that he's losing control is because there's a point in the bridge where he says, you ever hear that voice in your head? It goes looking at you, poking at you, yelling at you, effing with you. Looking at you, poking at you, yelling at you, effing with you. And just pretty much saying it's like, this voice, have you ever heard of it? Where it just doesn't leave you alone. It bothers you. It startles you. It scares you. It just completely messes with you completely. And it just screws you up in general. As far as Gravity of Discomfort goes, it starts off with a very interesting guitar riff. Because at first it just sounds like a normal guitar, and then it starts to get distorted. And they use this thing to make the guitar sound very abnormal, comparing it to other guitars that don't use that particular system. And it sounds really good. And he sings in the very beginning, and then he starts yelling for the chorus. Because in the chorus he starts yelling, hate dominates everything I got on my plate. Feel the weight of my pain, crushing my heart, it's sure to break. I know it really wants to hurt me for sure. I know it set me up. It's death premature. And the part where he says, I know it's trying to hurt me for sure, he kind of harmonizes along with it a little bit. Not too much, but he does harmonize with it. And then it just goes back after he's done with the chorus. He just goes back to the song being heavy again. And again, it goes back to his singing. So as far as Gravity of Discomfort goes, that's also another pretty good track on the song, on the album itself. However, Harder is one of those that is definitely heavy. And in this one, he's just basically, he doesn't understand what it is that he is doing. He doesn't understand what it is that is going on around him. And he seems to be very confused by it because he wants things to get easier for him. But it just doesn't get easier. It just gets harder and harder and harder, as the song says. And there's a point where he is saying they are coming for me over and over and over and over and over again. And he just keeps, he basically wants to be saved by this thing, and he wants to be saved somehow. But the nothing won't leave him alone. It just keeps on bugging him, it just keeps on messing with him, and it just keeps on making his life harder, in which why is the song called Harder, and he repeats himself over and over again. It's like, he says, tell me why my life keeps getting harder and harder and harder and harder, and he just repeats that over and over again all the way until the end of the song. My personal favorite out of the whole album itself is called This Loss. In This Loss, it sounds a lot like a nursery rhyme. You could say that this could be kind of compared to Chutes and Ladders. It's not exactly like Chutes and Ladders because, of course, it doesn't have the bagpipes and it doesn't necessarily have a nursery rhyme in it, but the way that he sings the song itself sounds a lot like a nursery rhyme. The way he starts out with itty bitty, oh so pretty as I watch myself break down, satisfying as I'm crying, watch the vomit hit the ground. I am just a shadow of the man I once used to be. Everyone I ever loved is always taken back from me. Or everything I ever loved is always taken back from me. So basically what he's saying is he feels like he watches himself break down. He can't really do much about that. And anytime that he has any source of happiness, anytime that he finds anything that can make him enjoy his life, it is always torn away from him, which is why the song is called This Loss. And again, it most likely has to do with the loss of his wife. Now this one, it really stood out to me because there's a particular part of the song which you could say is kind of the actual bridge of the song, and it changes the way that the song sounds. The reason that I say that the song changes it's the way that it sounds is because there's a part where he starts saying, I want to take it back, I want it, I want it, I want to take it back, I want it, and then he goes back to singing the song. After the second chorus, though, it's weird because it changes into this part where it gets very, you hear these very ominous sounds in the background. The instrumentals just change into a very creepy-like song. But the highlight of this particular song is how Jonathan Davis sounds like he's trying to bring out his inner Freddie Mercury, you could say. Because as you hear this song, it sounds like he's trying to harmonize with it. He's trying to make it feel like he's just completely trapped. But the way that it sounds, like, it's so weird to explain, or very difficult to explain, because it really does sound like this particular song was kind of inspired by Queen in a way, because he harmonizes along with it and he sings more than yelling. Like, over this whole album, he does sing, but his voice still has that part of him that sounds like he's yelling, sounds like he's angry, sounds like he's just flat out pissed. But in this one, he actually like sings when he starts saying, this is plain to see, been holding on too long to this tragedy, and it's time to be free, to understand what this past laid out for me. So here I am again. Happiness is a club I'll never be in. I'll never be in. I'll never get in. I'll never get in. And then he yells, never get in. But the way that he sings, like, it sounds like I said, it just sounds a lot like Queen. And it's like, it's just very weird how he utilized his vocals on this one. Like, he made them go at a much higher pitch than you're used to hearing Jonathan Davis use. And I really have no other way to describe it except for it actually sounding like Freddie Mercury in a way. Like, obviously not just full-on Freddie Mercury. Like, yeah, Jonathan Davis is in there. But the way that he harmonizes with the song and the way that he utilizes his vocals to go into a higher pitch, you can tell that he's so tired of this and he's so hurt by this that he just wants to escape it. And it's into the point where he gets to accept that he can't escape this. And it's sad because when this song ends, he keeps on saying, I want to take it back, I want to take it back. But then we go into the closer that is called Surrender to Failure. It's a very short song. It's very sad, actually, because instead of this album ending in some sort of victory, in some sort of triumphant end where the protagonist wins, this album ends with him losing, accepting that he can't escape this thing that haunts him. It ends with him just allowing to be controlled by this, allowing himself to be manipulated by this, allowing himself to be crushed by this. Because as the song, I'm just going to go ahead and read the whole lyrics for this particular song because it's very powerful and it's just sad because the character just completely gives up. Lost alone here in the dark, looking for answers I will never find, I'll never find. God knew all along that he would take you, and the demons were set loose to claim their prize. I am their prize. Everywhere I turn, I can't escape you. Did everything I could to hide. For every good thing I've done, there's a price to pay, and that price has left me horrified. God, I tried. Now I'm the one who never chose this. Now I'm the one who walked the narrow line. And I would do anything to bring you back to me if only God would let me turn back time. After he says that, the song just slows down, it quiets, and you hear Jonathan Davis start to cry and say that he failed over and over again, to the point where you can hear that he starts sobbing, and that's how the album ends. As far as that being the closer to the album, at first I was very skeptical of it because I thought that it was very short. I thought that it was very I thought that the hype was a bit too much for it to end that way. But then hearing it over and over again and focusing more into the plot of the actual story of this album, it's a struggle to fight this demon that won't leave you alone. And of course, there is a way to defeat it, but unfortunately, whether this protagonist is Jonathan Davis or not, this particular person can't fight this off. This thing is way too much for him. And he, in the end, surrender to failure just means it's over. This thing wins, I don't win, and it's over for me in general. I'm not going to win this no matter how hard I try. A very powerful album, to say the least. I'm not gonna lie, when I heard this album, I was very surprised by it. I did read some reviews on it previous to it to see what to expect, and everybody kept on saying that this is their darkest album yet. And at first when I heard it, I really didn't believe it, but after I heard it more times, it became more clear to me that this album was just completely messed up. But is it an album that I would say that you should not listen to, that it's a waste of your time? Absolutely not. This album is amazing. This album is as Korn as it gets. I would say that maybe this is probably as dark as heck, you could say that it's as dark as the self-titled album. The only thing is that the self-titled album didn't exactly follow a storyline. This one does. And this particular storyline is a storyline of struggling your demons and losing to them. And of course, like I said, most of this revolves around the death of Jonathan Davis's wife and the acceptance of it. But it seems that the acceptance that Jonathan Davis turned to is not the healthiest type of acceptance, in which he knows that he can fight it. It's more of the acceptance where it's like, whatever, it's bothering me, it's laughing at me, it's torturing me, but I just have to deal with it. I can't get rid of it. And that's pretty sad. It just goes to show in how much of a dark place Jonathan Davis is in. So my verdict with this album, I love it. It's heavy, it's amazing, and I've been going through some personal struggles myself, so as I heard this album, of course it was not a loss of a family member such as his wife, but it was the loss of quite a few things. So listening to the album itself as I was going through that situation, it somewhat helped me cope with it, but not entirely, because this album it doesn't end well. It doesn't end where you win. It ends where you lose. And maybe, who knows, maybe this album will be followed up by another album in which Jonathan Davis will finally be free from this thing. Maybe not. Who knows? We really don't know what step it is that Korn is going to be taking next after this album. Maybe it will be a follow-up, maybe not. But as far as this particular album goes, if you're going through a tough time and you hear this album, expect to get depressed, because this album is really going to mess you up. If you're in a certain state of mind where you feel like you're okay, you're happy, you're enjoying yourself, then go ahead and listen to the album. It's not going to make you depressed, because it won't make you think about anything that's bad. You'll just listen to the album and be like, damn, this guy is going through a lot. But yeah, if anything, if you're going through a tough time, I would say give it some time before you actually hear this album until you recover. Because instead of putting you into a better place in which you can feel like you can be at peace with whatever it is that's going on with you, it will actually bring you down more. So be very aware of that and be very cautious of that. Overall though, this album, I love it. I'm glad that I got it on vinyl. I'm glad that I got it on CD. I'm glad that I got the hoodie of it and the lithograph of it. In general, I love this album. I have absolutely no regrets in hearing it. My rating for this is a 9 out of 10. Period. A 9 out of 10 definitely settles this album. I really got nothing else to say about it. You should definitely check it out. So that about wraps it up for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I am sorry for not uploading for last week. If anything, I have a few other videos coming up, hopefully by the end of this week or hopefully in the middle of this week. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. I know that this one was a long one, and it is very unusual since it is a music review rather than games, movies, smartphones, and stuff like that. But overall, I really do appreciate you guys sticking through the whole video. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the support. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. And of course, if you want to see more videos in the future, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. You guys have an awesome day. Peace out.